Hey everybody, so today I want to talk about the number one mistake organizations make when they're applying for tax exempt status. Let's get started. Hey everybody, Tiffany here with Boss on the Budget. I help new and small nonprofits get up and running. If you need help getting your nonprofit together, I have a lot of materials that can help you. I have a nonprofit startup checklist and also a workbook that you can purchase to help guide you through that checklist. So check out those links below. But today I want to talk to you about the mistake I see people make all the time when applying for tax exempt status and how to correct it. So, a lot of people who want to start their nonprofits are do it yourselfers. So, they're the type of people who are willing to Google and figure out what they have to do to get their vision to the next level, right? So, a lot of people just know inherently, well, I probably have to be a 501c3 organization if I want to get donations and I want to get grants. A lot of people just know that, and so they automatically Google that and they look for the forms and all of that. So I have videos that help guide you through that. But as people start to fill out those forms for the IRS, there are some common mistakes that they make that really have implications for years to come. So the first thing I'll say is if you are a do-it-yourselfer and you want to apply for tax exempt status, please consult a tax professional or an attorney as you go through that process. This is not something you should take lightly, and the investment that you do right now will pay off later. So you don't want to make a mistake being a newbie and not know what it means for your organization, okay? So I really recommend that if at least you're going to do it yourself, you have someone look it over to make sure you didn't miss anything or you didn't mischaracterize anything, okay? So I want to talk to you about the mistake I see do-it-yourselfers do and how to correct it. So the biggest mistake, I know you're like, Tiffany, come on, what is it? It is when people are designated as a private foundation and not a public charity. So in a previous video, I talked about the differences between that when you're applying using your 1023 EZ or your 1023, but I'm just going to go through it a little bit more in this video. So most people don't realize that there are different types of 501c3 organizations. There are two main types. There's a public charity and then there's a private foundation. Now there's also a private operating foundation, but we're not going to get into the weeds on that. We're just going to keep it simple and we're going to just talk about public charities and private foundations. So most people who want to operate a traditional nonprofit, meaning they want to do direct services or they want to serve their community, most of those people are really public charities. And public charities are organizations that get the majority of their support from a broad range of people or organizations. So you may get it from government grants, you may get it from individual donations, you may get it for fees that you charge for services, for membership income, all of that. So those are public charities. Private foundations are different. Private foundations typically get their funding from one source or a small amount of sources, a small number of sources, and those people can really direct how that funding is used. So foundations are typically run by families or they're typically run by corporations. You do have some community foundations, but a lot of foundations are run by small groups of people, right? So the IRS wants to avoid that for nonprofits. So if you're not getting your money from a broad range of people, that means it's easy to be controlled by the motives or objectives of a small group of people. You're not technically a public organization, and they consider you a private foundation. And the way they determine that is how you bring in your money. So there are a couple of different calculations that the IRS does to test whether or not you are a public charity or a private foundation. But that test really doesn't come in until years after you get your tax exempt status. So you have to declare when you're applying for your status right away whether or not you're going to be a public charity or a private foundation. And the biggest mistake people make is not realizing, number one, that there is a difference. Number two, not realizing that they're really a public charity and not a private foundation. And number three, not declaring that, not making that clear on the forms, and thus being automatically determined as a private foundation, and it will screw you up moving forward. And a lot of people don't even realize it until it's time to submit their tax form and they see, wait a minute, they're asking me for the 990 PF and not the 990 postcard or the 990N. Why? And then they realize, oh crap, I messed up. I am a private foundation. I'm not actually a public charity. So I want to talk to you about what to look out for when you're filling out your application to make sure you don't make this mistake. And if you didn't hear me say it earlier, I will say it again. Please get a tax professional or an attorney to walk this through with you so you don't make common mistakes that people make. And if you're going to fill out the form yourself, have somebody review it to make sure you captured everything correctly. There's a section of IRS code which designates you as a public charity. It is section 509A. I really recommend that you look at it, you read it, make sure you're aware of what it is. So there are 4 sections within that, A1, 2, 3, and 4. And those types of organizations, that basically describes the type of organizations that can be recognized as public charities. For most people, if you are operating a traditional nonprofit, you're going to qualify under 509A1 and 509A2, okay? So look at those, study those to make sure you fit, first of all, within those categories and to figure out which category. And it really, again, has to do with how you're bringing in money or how you plan to bring in money. Is most of your money coming from public funding, from government support? Then you will be on one section. If you're getting a lot of your money from service income or from fees that you charge, then you're going to be a different section. But there are calculations and things you need to do to determine that I can't do that for you in this video. I can just guide you to where you should look to help make that determination, and again, have someone else look at it for you. If you don't designate that you qualify under sections 509A in your forms, the IRS is going to automatically designate you as a private foundation. They're just, period. They're just going to make you a private foundation. And a lot of people aren't savvy enough to realize when they get their determination letter that they have been designated as a private foundation, because people get confused from the words foundation, charity. It just seems like it's all the same. But when it comes to the IRS, it's really different, as I explained. So again, just make sure you read that section to make sure you're clear on where you fit. And when you then apply for your status, you're making sure you're declaring that you're actually a public charity if that's what you decide to be. Now, some of you watching this video may be like, oh my goodness, Tiffany, I did not realize that I'm a private foundation. What do I do? And so this happens. People make these mistakes. So what you need to do is, first of all, go to the IRS website and read up on what it takes to reclassify your status, okay? And you're going to use Form 8940 to apply for a classification fix, basically, so they can change you from a private foundation to a public charity. And you're going to have to prove to the IRS that you made a mistake and that you actually operate like a public charity. You never meant to operate as a private foundation. So they're going to want to see your tax form from the previous year. They're going to want to see your finances to make sure that your money actually came from a broad range of sources. So it's a process and there's a fee. So if you want to avoid all of that mess, then I really recommend that before you even apply, you do your research, you read the IRS code. If you're going to fill out the form yourself, what is the lesson of the day, everyone? Consult a tax attorney or a professional who can review all of your information and to make sure it's correct. So the reason why I do these videos is because I want to help you avoid these situations. I want to make sure you are on the up and up so that your nonprofit can win. I just want to see everybody win, and I'm here to serve. So if you have any questions for me, please visit me at my website at www.bossonabudget.com, and I will see you in the next video.